Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. We have a very nice, and actually it's going to be a very warm day, low 90s.
Yeah, I'm not ready for it.
No, I'm not ready for it either, but it's okay. At least it's not windy yet. We have a high tomorrow of 70 something, 75, 77, which means we'll have a really windy night tonight. So we're enjoying it while we can out here in a shady spot. First thing, we will have a garden tour for you this week. We did film that this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of cooking with videos.
Yeah, we're a few days ahead, days ahead. But man,
which is nice because we had a really rough night last night.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Samantha was up for a long time last night, so we kind of took this morning slow. Anyway.
It's really easy to fall into that, though, where you take like a day and a half slow, and then you're like, what happened?
And second, did I have a second? Are there any
so.
news?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
There's a lot of videos today. Second is that we have 8 videos.
Oh, yeah. We posted 3 videos today. I really appreciated your feedback. I was kind of nervous to do it. I'm always nervous to change things up because I like steady. Consistency. I like that quite a bit. But we decided, since we had so many container planting projects, to break them up into 3 videos because 1, it's easier for us to organize. 2, I feel like I can prattle on for however long I want, and I don't have to worry about the video getting super long, although I know some of you guys like that. So I didn't know if you guys would like to see all 3 of those projects just glommed together in one big long video, or if you liked it better separated. And
it'd be interesting to run a poll, but not doing a poll, I think the majority of people said they were okay with splitting it into multiple videos.
They either enjoyed it or were okay with it. I only read 1. Of course, I haven't really kept up on comments. I'll read them later today, but 1 person said they would prefer long videos. But you could watch 3, and that's technically a long video.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, thank you for your input on that. It's something we may consider doing in the future, just because, I feel like we do the same projects over and over, just because, some of our areas stay the same, and we plant them up every single year. And so while I feel like it may get a little bit redundant or too much, I feel like maybe putting them together like that gives it a little bit of freshness.
It feels like if you were only to do a video of just the east side pots along the fence, it's kind of been there, done that
before.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So,
even though it's new plants, but still.
Well, and this year there was even less involved. Last year was the first year we had put the pots in, and we had to run the irrigation, and we had to fill them up with soil, and you had to use the saw,
the angle grinder
to actually get the irrigation going. So it felt like there was more to that video.
Yeah.
And this time it's just potting them up, which is still fun, but it feels maybe incomplete or...
Yeah, we should add more to that video somehow. Anyway, let's jump into the videos from last week and answer some questions. First one was dividing dahlias, which is a project that, oh my word, it was a project. And it was something that I was kind of dragging my feet. I wanted to get it done in April, didn't have a chance to do it. And then it took me 3 different sessions of dividing to get them done. Because I had 17 crates, right? I think 17 crates worth of dahlias, which is just crazy. And it's a lot of work. I was considering the whole time, I wonder if I should just have people come dig these up. Let's start with new ones every year and try different varieties. It is so labor intensive to dig up dahlias and to store them and to divide them that I think in the end, cost-wise, when you take a look at how much time you've spent on that and what your time is worth, you're like, I could have bought these over 3 times.
Yeah.
All this time I've put into it, and maybe other people would enjoy coming and digging them up and enjoy that work. I don't enjoy that work, the digging part. Oh, well, I was also pregnant. I remember that first row of dahlias and feeling physically,
this is the worst.
It was super windy.
Yeah.
It was the worst. Anyway, maybe I'll feel differently about it this year. There is some part of it that you feel good about. I'm at a point where I'm self-sustaining in my dahlia patch. I don't have to order anymore or buy anymore if I don't want to, and I could still have as big of a patch as I've had. Anyway. So all of that said, I just showed my process and showed the anatomy of a dahlia tuber and how I was dividing them. I haven't done a tremendous amount of it in the past because I haven't ever grown them at this scale. And I felt like by the end I was getting pretty good at it. I think I massacred the first couple of divisions that I did. I got tubers out of it, which was fine, but I started getting a little bit better at it and feeling more comfortable. So Melissa said dividing 12 or more crates of dahlia tubers would be one of those rare times that I don't envy Laura. Exactly.
Yeah.
You nailed it, Melissa, because that was the worst. Although I have to say, part of my Mother's Day, I told Aaron, like, I just want to make a cup of coffee and I want to go out there and just like quietly work on. And I had, I was watching a show. I can't even remember what I was watching.
Probably Frasier.
Yeah, something like that I've seen before a million times. And then I don't have to, like, I can just hear it playing, and it was playing, and I had a coffee, and I was just like in there in a zone, and that was fairly nice. But 3 times of that, no. Christy said, great video, thank you. In your weekly recap, could you please talk about the tools you used for dividing the dahlias? Yes, I used 3 different tools. My most handy tool were my Felco 2s. Those pretty much did everything that I needed them to do, unless I was dealing with a major clump, like a big thick clump at the top with a really hard woody stem. And in that case I used, I can't remember which Felco saw. It was one of the pruning saws. It was the more straight one.
Oh.
So there are some like curved ones. This was more straight.
I think they have 4. I think they have, maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right, because I remember seeing those on the wall. We have all 4, and it was the shortest, straightest one they have. So if that tells you anything.
Do you prefer that over the curved one?
Well, in this case I did, because I felt like I could get it in, just being smaller, I felt like I could get it in there. And then I did use the snips occasionally, but not really that much. I think I just use those 2 tools the most. Angie said, new gardener in Ohio, do you need to dig up tubers every year? If you are in a zone 7 or lower, yes. They will not survive unless you're a zone 8 or above. Sometimes like in a 7, and I've even heard of people in a zone 6 mulching up, like really mulching up your dahlia rows. Maybe it's something we should try.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because we've been having such mild, like technically we had a zone 7 winter this last year. I mean,
and dry.
Yeah, it might be possible to mulch them up and carry them on that way. It's sometimes I think it's worth a shot. Gatis said, are you going to divide into zones your new property for weed inspection too, or are you guys will hire to get that job done? So I do have the cut flower garden zoned, that whole area, like the whole orchard cut flower garden is already zoned. Paul actually handles all of that out there, which is awesome. I mean, I handle the planting and I hand weed the rows until the plants are up and going, because like I want to look at the seedlings, I want to see the progression of all of that. So what I do is I get Samantha in her stroller in the evenings, and she naps in the evenings a lot of the time, and she likes to be in the stroller. It's her favorite spot. So I push her around until she's asleep, and then I go out there and kind of park her in the shade and go hand weed the rows out there. But Paul does have it zoned out so that every area gets looked at. We have not, though, figured out a zoning system for the big sections. It'll be something that'll just have to come, I think, as we get more stuff out there. However, I do have to say that our tree service, Natural Tree Service, I contacted them. I texted them last week and asked if they ever drop their chips anywhere. Like, do you guys charge for that? Which I was totally willing to pay, because they have to truck them over here with their equipment.
You're
anyway.
way too nice. You're like, when you're providing a place for them to dump their stuff.
Yeah, but you never know. I mean, that might be a highly sought after thing. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't. Yeah.
Okay,
maybe that's true.
What we're doing is any load that they have that's clean, that's not full of any kind of diseased shrub or tree, they're coming, and we gave them a spot. Like, they know where they can come and dump, and they're going to come dump it on the new property. And then Aaron and Paul will use a tractor. I might get out there on the rake a little bit and spread the wood chips out over that dusty area, at least in both corners that we're going to plant. That way it's a free mulch. Awesome. And it's something that can just return to the earth. It's kind of like we have a compost right on top of our soil, because it is green and browns. There are like wood chips, but there's also a lot of leafy growth this time of year that's been chipped up really fine. So I think that's a really good solution.
It's a perfect mix of your browns and your greens.
Yeah, so we'll have something to enrich the soil. It will help suppress weeds. It will cut down on the dust tremendously. So yeah, that was kind of your thought. You're like, hey, do you think that they drop off chips? So I got on my phone, text them right away.
Think how we can save some money.
Well, yeah, too.
Well, okay, so I used to have a lawn mowing business, and if somebody called me and said, like in town, said, hey, can you dump your grass here? I'd be like, yes, please.
Yeah. Because
you're constantly just thinking, like, how do I get rid of this stuff quickly and cheaply?
That's true. Well, we'll be the cheap drop-off here for a while.
Yeah.
Until we've got a nice, good layer out there. I'm excited about it. Tony said, what do you do to get a huge plot? I'd have to be a multimillionaire here in the UK. I mean, honestly, well, we got it too before the prices of real estate over here are insanity right now.
I think the price of all across America is high. Is it? I think so.
I don't follow it close enough. And I don't know what our property's worth now, but let me tell you, we got it for really, we got a stellar deal.
Yeah. there's a lot of land in this part of the country,
Yeah.
and there's not that many people.
Right.
And so naturally, you can get a lot more land for a lot less money.
Yeah. Jean said, what a big job. Curious whether the vermiculite can be saved and reused. I'm going to. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it unless you've had like a fungus gnat problem or some kind of fungal anything. Like I probably wouldn't save anything that was gross or whatever. But mine looks great. So I'm just going to spread it out, make sure it's dry, and then bag it up and we'll use it again next year. Next video, planting an arborvitae that grows fast. Arborvitae. So his parents came from the Midwest and they've always called them arborvitaes, which is proper. But I think our region calls them largely arborvitaes.
I don't know the arborvitae is correct, but
I think it is.
You think so?
Well, the people at Spring Meadow Nursery call them arborvitaes, and I feel like they're the authority
Oh, sure.
on such things, kind of like poinsettia and poinsettia.
yeah.
Anyway, we planted 4 Spring Grove arborvitaes on the new property. They grow
Big.
20 to 30 feet tall, 10 to 12 feet wide quickly, and they smell good, and they're beautiful. They're a really pretty plant. So we planted 4 of them. They were quite small, so it'll be interesting to see how fast they grow out there because they're completely exposed to all the elements. They are not protected at all. So we'll see. Natasha said, and this is the top comment, I thought that animation of the coupler was a giant bug running out from under the drip tube. I still haven't watched that.
Yeah, well, I put that in after you
After I
approved
watched
the video
Yeah.
or whatnot. What I wanted to do is because you couldn't see the coupler, I wanted it to come up onto the screen, and it seems so blah to just have it pop up.
Got to do something.
Got to do something fancy.
Fancy. Nice with the coupler. I saw that comment a lot though. Like
Yeah.
people were freaked out when it came onto the screen.
That's funny. It didn't strike me as something that would be
I need to watch it now.
surprising.
Deborah said, you're so lucky. I would have had at least 10 large rocks when I pick a place I want to do a plant or tree shrub in the area. We are very lucky. We do not have rocky soil. I mean, like on occasion I'll find a random rock, but it's usually because I'm close to like the driveway where there are rocks. My parents live on a hill and they have really rocky soil, and I always forget that. Like when we go somewhere else and plant, I'm like, dang, I need to be more thankful. I mean, our soil, while it is high pH and kind of crummy and like when it dries it's white and gets big cracks in it, I need to be thankful that I'm not dealing with great big rocks because we dig a lot of holes. And that would be a bummer. How long do you run the drip using a 1/4-inch hose, and do you use a moisture reader to know you're down to the root ball? We do not use a moisture reader. How long are you running the drip out there?
Right now I have the tree, since it started getting warmer, I think I have going for either 25 or 30 minutes long twice, or once every other day.
Every other day,
Yeah.
20 to 30 minutes.
And there's a lot of drippers. I mean, every 6 inches in
Yeah.
that brown. So quite a bit of water comes out. Yeah.
And do keep in mind that every place will be different depending on your soil type and how much wind they get. We get so much wind out there that it's just one of those things that things dry out quicker. So we usually always, on everything, even containers, we start out with 20 to 30 minutes on the clock and then we adjust from there. Like Aaron went through last night because I was noticing like our incredible hydrangeas along our fireplace, like boxwood hedging, were starting to wilt. And it's because we needed to kick the water up a little bit. We start off low in the spring when it's cooler out, and then as the season progresses we just have to gradually make that time longer. De La Rosa said, I know this is random, but would you guys consider making a members only shirt and or sweater?
I think that's a great idea, actually.
Like an
offering
exclusive members
discount
thing
for merch for members.
Yeah.
Well, and an exclusive stuff that only they can buy.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
And we should have we are working on it. We keep saying that.
It's a lot of effort,
a lot of
figuring
research,
out
yeah.
what the best solution is for shirts.
Yeah, but we'll get there. Viola said, do you increase the drip circle as the tree grows? It seems so small now when I think about how big the trees will get. It's likely in the end we won't have to have a drip circle around the trees because we'll be watering other things in the area. Don't you anticipate like someday we'll have drip grid over there because it'll be so much thicker? Or do you think we'll do individual and have to expand those drip circles? I hadn't really thought about that, other than the fact that established stuff doesn't need to have.
Yeah, we probably will get rid of those when they get big enough. Get rid of the drip circles. Like I can imagine, in 3, 4, 5 years, just not needing them. But also they do get clogged up with junk, hard water. So I can also see us just replacing them and
just
putting bigger
gradually-
ones in
Sure.
over time.
Yeah, makes sense. Tammy said, when you say guy, oh, geez, I have such issues when I read some of these, like I totally jumble words up. When you guys say zone 8, does that include zone 8B? Yes.
Well, except for that is a different zone technically.
But if it's like, if it says zone 8 and not specifically zone 8A or zone 8B, it encompasses both.
Yeah.
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 J and L said, are you going to start mulching around the trees you're planting on the new property? I know you said you cannot mulch it all right now, but I would think mulching around the base of these would help. Yes, I think I just talked about the wood chips, and that's how we're going to be doing it gradually.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Okay, next video was gazebo removal. It's just, so at the beginning of the video, I was saying how this was a bittersweet day, and it was at the beginning because I kind of anticipated missing it more than I do. As that hood or roof was being lifted off of the base, I felt a weight being lifted off of this garden. I just like didn't even realize, I couldn't really envision the Hartley being there. It was making me feel bad because I'm like, here I am, like getting this bucket list item that's freaking amazing, and I can't even picture it in my own garden. You know, it's because that gazebo was just such a block for me, and I didn't realize that. And now I'm so excited. I mean, I've been excited for the Hartley, but now like I can just see it and envision it, and that just puts a different spin on it. And it was really interesting though to see how that was done. And we will go down and get video when it's set back up in the park down where it's gonna live on the rest of its days. We'll go down there. It's likely we'll be landscaping around it a little bit too, which would be fun. Rebecca said the city guys all huddled up with Aaron learning about how they never need to cut the grass again. Oh boy, those things are nice. I didn't even realize how nice those the Husqvarna auto mower. They're very nice. The Pinoyne said, sorry, but how could it possibly be worth it to move a gazebo across town? It actually, they were telling us because we thought it was kind of insane, like how much money it does cost to move a structure, but it's significantly less than putting up a new one. Like they were sharing some stats on another one that they had recently
Especially
put
with
up.
wood prices, if you were going to do a wooden one right now.
Like it's saving them like $30,000 roughly just to have a one that already exists and to pay for the moving of it as opposed to putting in a brand new one. So anyway, I think that they were excited for it. Next question. When you are filming other people and companies, etc., did you ask permission to film? I think everybody knows when they come here. They've been warned, like the city guy.
We didn't really ask permission. It was kind of just like we told them, like
we film
this
videos.
we film things. So
Yeah.
we're like, I told the city manager and the public works director.
And when I was talking to one of those guys here, he said that he asked all the guys like, wear your nice clothes. Everybody make sure not to say anything. We have to edit out. So everybody knew that they were going to be filmed. And they were so like the moving company, the guys that were doing all of that, I was all up in their business. Like to get all those shots, I went up like close to the crane to get the shot of the, the leg coming down. And then I asked one of the guys to put it underneath the roof so that when it came up, so he was in there like trying to figure out where to put it. But I was like running all around and they were completely fine with it. I think they were kind of interested in our process and we were interested in theirs. It's always kind of fun. But I do make sure, like if I'm around, like down at the garden center, I make sure not to get other people as much as possible because I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. Martha said, off-topic question, I saw one of your hose links on the ground. In the background, and wondered if you keep them pressurized water turned on all the time or turn off the faucet after every use. Most of them are turned off after every use except for the one in the greenhouse. That one's on all the time because I love just to walk in there and just pick up the hose and then I start my work.
Also, the faucet's in a really awkward position to turn on and off.
It is quite awkward. Yeah.
I mean, you could do it, but it's...
Yeah, but you have to like kind of like crane down and like bend over to get to it. Yeah. And Angel said, is hood garden speak for roof? Yep.
It's Laura speak for roof.
Linda said, finally it's gone. Now we can't wait for the greenhouse. When is it going to arrive? We got word today. Installation date is July 19th.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. So Chad's coming in the next week and he's going to take the concrete out. The wood posts are gone and they're going to be used. Like that's the thing. We try to reuse every last little bit of everything that we are removing. We try to be responsible with that. But Chad's going to come remove the concrete, like kind of level out the area, and then the concrete guys come in and he's going to do the stem wall. It won't have any of the brick masonry, any of that stuff until after the top is installed.
Well, not necessarily, because if
I am like preparing myself
I
to
know.
see the Hartley with no brick on the bottom, just
Well,
concrete for
thing
a little
is that
while.
we were originally going to have in June have the Hartley be installed, but then I got scared that we weren't going to be able to get everything
it was
done
smart
in
to
time.
push it out.
Yeah, so we pushed it out to July.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the city was we were having a hard time getting them to come.
Yeah.
So, but now that we have a little bit extra time, we might be able to get the masonry work done prior to it being installed. So,
Which would be fantastic. I haven't picked it out yet, though. We need to go.
yeah, well, we've sent photos. We've got a friend that's kind of acting as the general on the project. Well, it's Eddie. It's the same guy that does all the
He
other
did.
stuff.
He built the chicken coop, the root cellar. He just built our raspberry beds, which we're going to show you this week. He and his wife Trisha are just, they're like kind of part of our family now. I mean, we've just had him around all the
Eddie
time.
has a full-time job. He just likes to
Yeah.
do stuff on the side.
Yeah. And he's the type who likes everything incredibly precise. Like he has ropes and strings and stuff everywhere, and he's leveling everything all the time. It's like the kind of job that I want to have done. He's also incredibly patient with me because whenever we do a project, including like simple raspberry beds, like you should be able to simply slap up some raspberry beds. Not with me. Like I have to see everything before we, like the level of even the brace pieces, and he's so patient. And he lets me, since he has a full-time job and he's just working on things incrementally, it's like perfection because I can make a choice and he'll do it, and then I'll make another choice based on how it looks, and then he'll do that. It's just it works out very nicely. Anyway, Amy said, can you do a follow-up video showing the gazebo in its new place? Yep, we plan on it. Okay, next video is planting salvia in a brand new sedum. I love that area right now. It's so beautiful. So pink profusion salvia, full bloom when we planted it, and back in black sedum, which is a new one coming out next year that we're trying. And they're just gorgeous together. They both have that very cool well, of course, the pink, very cool color, but back in black, even though it has red in its blooms, it appears very cool colored because of its dark burgundy leaves. Gearhead said, can you divide salvia when they start getting too big? The ones we planted 2 years ago have gotten bigger every year, and now we are starting to get a bit crowded. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Yes, you absolutely can. Great time to do it is in the fall, early enough to where they have enough time to root in before winter, or you can do it in the spring, kind of before they break dormancy. Just divide them and move them around. Barbara said, can you talk about the 3 birch trees you planted in one hole? I'm about to plant 7 dogwood trees on my tiny property. According to the plant tags, which recommend spacing for trees mature width, I don't have enough room. I know they can't be planted close together as I do in nature, but there is very little information about planting this way. How close is too close? Well, I put these smack dab next to it, like they put the root balls. In fact, so Erin was showing me, and this is crazy. You should show a little bit of this while I'm talking right now. The west side has changed so much, but we have a video where I was doing a tree tour showing some trees that we put in the landscape and kind of explaining my thought process.
2018, right?
Ooh, I don't know.
I think it was 2018.
Was it 2018? There was still grass down there. There was no brick pathway, nothing, and the pasture was just raw, like the pasture that we're now developing. I'm not sure that we've improved the look of the pasture very much at this point, but I can see it. Anyway, at some point, I had taken a picture of when we were planting the birch trees and the 3 root balls right next to each other, and like
They're as close as you can put them together without taking off the root ball.
Well, and that's how they grow, like
soil.
triple trunk trees. They just start them younger together. So these I'm just starting older together. I don't know.
There's maybe
They're happy.
There's some trees that will grow together and some that won't, because I know some will kind of like repel each other. Does that make sense? Like there are some trees, you know how if you take a camera and point straight up,
they
you'll
kind of
notice
like
how none of them touch each other.
Yeah, they talk to each
but then
other.
there are other.
Is there a book like that?
Yeah. What do you mean?
Like trees that talk to each other?
I don't know.
Trees
But I just
speak?
wonder if birches are the type of tree that will intertwine and don't have trouble touching each other.
I don't know enough about trees to tell you, like, this kind you can plant together, this kind you can't. In general, you want to give things enough room to breathe and things, but I don't know, and I kind of go off of like what I saw at the garden center, and I knew that would be okay because I'd seen so many of them grown as triple trunks. Same with serviceberries and redbuds even. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe one day I'll regret that decision. Teresa said, what's the brand of auger you are using? That is a Proven Winners auger. It's the jumbo size. I don't know how many inches it is. And with a can that size, you do have to kind of like rock the auger around and kind of dig multiple almost holes. But it beats a shovel. any day. And it also makes the soil all fluffy and nice, as opposed to when I dig holes for stuff, like it comes out in a big chunk, and sometimes it's really hard to break that chunk up to get it back down in the hole, like to put it around the root ball. So I've really been enjoying those augers. Sandra said, when you say you shear the salvia back, do you take it all the way to the ground or just the blooms? New gardener here, and I have salvia currently. Okay, so you can do it both ways. I tend to like to take it all the way back because then it flushes back fresh from the ground. It takes longer for it to bloom again, like considerably longer, but I just like the fresh look so much more. Or you can shear it back. It's usually about half. You'll see like where the leaf canopy starts and where the blooms are, and you kind of shear like right about where the leaf canopy is, and you'll see new buds forming. So you'll have blooms a lot quicker if you do it that way. Ligia said, do you remove one of the north poles to plant the tree? No. So we didn't plan to continue the North Pole arborvitae. Our plants kind of evolved down in that corner. So we stopped the arborvitae like kind of right behind, or just right beyond that last urn. And then I had planned on just planting like a really thick border down there, like blue spruces.
The urns weren't there.
But we had planned on putting them there. I knew they were going in.
Yeah.
But we stopped the arb wall short because I wanted it to look like it was disappearing behind another big like mixed border of deciduous and evergreen trees. And then we bought the new property and we were like, well, that's not going to work. It just wasn't working out right. So then we decided to continue on with some more arbs. They'll catch up at some point, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. It's green and it will be a wall one day. Pamela said, is there a reason you tend to plant front to back instead of back to front? It seems you are working over the just planted with this method. Oh, I plant based on where the camera's at. So sometimes it's difficult, and I'm like, Aaron, seriously, can you not get a different angle so you plant this differently? And he's like, no, you need to do this one first.
Yeah, that's the only reason you plant certain ones.
Yeah.
You'll ask me, which one should I plant first? And based on where my camera is, I point to one.
Yeah.
Say, do that one.
Yeah, because a lot of times if I don't do the front one first, you are blocked from seeing the back one because it's too tall. Stitch by Stitch said, I like yarrow, but it flops over. What am I doing wrong? Hold on. Is that playing a little bit too loud? We have an umbrella over my head this time. No birds are pooping on me today. So with yarrow, it might be getting too much moisture, it might be in too fertile a soil, and it might not be getting enough light. I would check those three things first. It might be, though, to an old variety. Some old varieties of stuff tend to want to flop, and they've improved them since the time of that variety's existence. I don't know. Anyway, and you can get better varieties now, so that might be it. Next video was planting low maintenance / high impact plants at our local community college. So in that video, it was so fun just to go down somewhere else, somewhere apart from here. I always love it when we go somewhere else and do projects because it gets you out of your own space and it makes you think about other people. I think that's good.
I think that you like it sometimes when it's like a commercial application because there's nobody breathing down your neck in terms of like, I don't like that color or whatever. Because most of the time when you do commercial, they're just like, I just need some color here.
Yeah. Like,
you know.
Yeah.
They just leave it completely up to you.
Yeah, that is quite nice. Anyway, we planted all of the varieties that we know do really well. Well, I guess let me go back a little bit. They contacted us because they just wanted to have all of their pots, and the people that used to do it aren't there anymore, and so they were kind of looking to find somebody who could design just some small areas and some containers, and they wanted to use some plants that grew really big, that provided a really good show, but didn't cost an arm and a leg, because some things you have to really use a lot of plants to create that look, but we were like, nope, we know plants that you don't need that, like Super Tunia Vista bubblegum. You don't need very many of those to create high impact. So we thought that would be a fun project to tackle this year. So, top comment from All the Nuts said, Laura, I hate designing landscapes for others, which is what I have said. Community college calls. Can you design and plant multiple landscapes for us? Laura, absolutely. You are all such givers. Probably explains why you are so blessed. That's a sweet comment. Randy said, does anyone here know why my Vista bubblegums would have white in the blooms? It's odd. I already have some with white pink blooms.
It's reverting.
It might be reverting. Yeah. Which happens on occasion. I've had that happen too. I wouldn't worry too much about it.
More rare. Yeah. You can pick out the white blooms. I mean, they bloom so profusely that if you were to... Now, if your whole plant is turning white, or like half of it, that'd be really interesting, and I would probably snap a picture and send it to Proven Winners.
Yeah,
they would want to know. They'll tell you the
Jinx.
same thing.
What are the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
You owe
9,
me a
10?
Coke.
You have to say stop. You
Oh.
owe me a Coke. So now you owe me a Coke.
Okay.
Ha.
Still, though, Proving Winners would want to know if like a lot of blooms were turning white.
Yeah.
But if it was just one,
Or just like a few, a smattering.
they'll tell you like, well, yeah, it does that
Yeah.
on occasion.
Nature does some crazy stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Gatis. Oh, we had 2 from Gatis. Are they all annuals or perennials, or is it a mix? They are all annuals that I am using. They like to change it up every year, the color scheme, the planting area. I mean, maybe in the future we'll have the opportunity to add some perennials in, but I can understand, like, we have some areas where we like to leave. I mean, like, to my left here, you can't see it, but I can see it. Usually every year I put coleus in this spot because I like it there. I like the color it brings. I like the fact that I can change it every year because I'm looking at it from my kitchen window. And the views that I look at a lot, I don't like them to be stagnant. I like them to change at least a little bit. So we save those little pockets where we can plant annuals, and I think that they like that. And typically annuals give you a better show. They just do, because you're not having to share them back at any point. They're just providing color and structure the entire time, and there's something to be said about that. Sincerely Eccentric said, do you do this all for free, or do you charge a rate? So
Almost free.
almost free, yeah. They are paying. They did give us their budget. They are paying a very small amount, but it's definitely...
Okay, so we'll put it this way. If we were doing it to make money, we would charge multiple times more than what we're charging. But we're not doing it. Like, we wanted to do it, 1, to help the community, but 2, because it does help us for video projects, like, you know.
But it is nice that there is a little bit to cover, because we have a lot to do down there, and we couldn't dedicate that much time to their projects without some, like, even a small compensation.
Yeah.
Because we, you know...
Like, so as an example, there's a guy that's going behind us that's running the drips. I'll bet they're paying him multiple times more
way
than
more
what
than us,
what they're paying us.
because we pay him for work too.
Yeah.
We know what he charges.
Yeah.
So yeah, we basically, like, we didn't dicker
So-
about budget at all. Like, they had this, like, small budget, and we were like, sure, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. April said, will they need to spray for budworms? Yes, they will. We are like trying to educate them as best as we can on everything that they need to do in terms of fertilizing, budworm spraying. So they are going to need to go get some Captain Jack's dead bug, which will also help with aphids too. So, and those are 2 things that we deal with here. And in a scale like that, you don't want any bug population to start taking over, because that can mean bad news, and it can mean the decimation of the whole area. So anyway, we told them how often and what they needed to get and all that sort of thing. Every week. Amy said, I can't wait to see a follow-up. Do you ever struggle with putting in all that hard work then walking away? Yes, we've driven by several times, like text. The Gofrina needs water. The whole time I watched this video, I was thinking, I sure hope the groundskeepers remember to water, and they have. So, like, really shortly after that one big area, the biggest one, there's drip. We actually drove by it today because we went. We are going to plant 19 pots down there tomorrow morning. Anyway, we need to go see what pots we were going to tackle, and we drove by and it looks all really good. The other one, you went and checked it, and it looks really good.
Yep.
So yeah, they've been out watering. Allison said this is going to be beautiful.
They're also going to mulch too. Just
Oh
to
yeah,
throw that
they're
in
going to
there.
mulch. I'm so glad they're going to do that. That will make a huge difference, because our soil is so white and it makes everything look like junk.
Well, we
until
made it look
covers
even worse by spreading the
So there's like
the
little
compost.
like dark compost and then white soil. Dark
Yeah.
compost, yeah. Allison said, this is going to be beautiful. Is this the college your brother teaches at? Yes, it is. And in fact, he came out in between a meeting or something like that to come check out what we were doing. Cindy said, just curious, is there a reason you decided to use Biotone when you planted these annuals and you used Flower Tone on some of the ones you planted at home?
Just use what you have.
Just, yeah, use what you've got on hand, whatever bag is open. We are trying to make an effort to use more Flower Tone this year, just to experiment and just to see how it does for our flowers. So anyway, you've probably noticed we've used that a lot. Okay, next video. Oh, so next videos are the 3 from this morning. So all 3 container projects. First one was planting 14 pots along our fence. Super excited about this recipe, which I am. The centerpiece plants, I've never used a salvia in there, and this is a new one called Unplugged Pink. And the thing I love about salvias. I mean, Playing the Blues is one of the favorite of mine. But I like the calyx. So the thing that holds the bloom to the stem is a really dark burgundy color. So even after the blooms fade and fall off, it still looks like it's in bloom. And you do not have to deadhead these to keep them going. They'll just keep on blooming. And I think this one's a little smaller stature than Playing the Blues, which in the end I think will be a better size in these containers, because Playing the Blues I think would catch too much wind and it might snap. Like they have a tendency to want to, like, the branches break off. They can be a little fragile that way. I think having one that's a little bit shorter will be helpful. And then I surrounded it with Super Tunia Vista bubblegum and Super Bina sparkling rose. Kate said, Laura questioning whether or not we want long video projects versus a series of shorter video projects. Silly girl, we'd watch you tying your shoes if you wore shoes with ties. That's very sweet, Kate. Leah said, what a great idea. 3 videos. Can individuals order directly from Proven Winners? Yes. I cannot find some of the varieties you plant locally. And that's the only reason why they started an online presence, like to sell things, was because they realized that some people just don't have access to a garden center that carries, you know, and every garden center can't carry every variety. It's like impossible, because they're at the mercy of whatever the growers in the area are growing. And even the growers won't grow every single offering that Proven Winners has. There's a lot of them. So they do offer that. I mean, it is more expensive because shipping plants is insane. Insanity insane. I don't know what I was going for there.
ProvenWinners.com tries not to compete with garden centers.
Yeah.
So you'll almost never see them running sales or like coupon codes or
They
anything
are
like
convenience only.
They're basically, they don't want to capitalize on, they don't want to, what's the word? Not capitalize. They don't want to draw any sales away. What's the word though? Cannibalize. They don't want to cannibalize sales from garden centers because they sell to garden centers, which sell to consumers. Yeah. So, what is it? Bite the hand that feeds you. Yeah. Kind of a thing. Anyway, 3 Jackie Sill. Maybe. Wait, am I missing something? I thought the 14 pots had tulips in them. No, I had daffodils in them, and a friend came and got all of them, which was fantastic. We don't have the water set. I mean, it's set up, but I'd have to figure out where I wanted them. Then I'd have to run a grid system, and I'm just not ready for plantings on that, like that small out there. I want to start with big stuff, deciduous trees, evergreens, big shrubs, and then we'll work our way down to bulbs and things like that. And so because I wasn't ready, I had a friend that they bought a new property, and she was like, oh, I'll come get them. So she came and got all of them and planted them, and then their family will be able to enjoy. It's fun to be able to give away stuff like that to people where, like, you and I don't want to put in the work to pull them out. And so it's kind of like a win-win. Yeah, because somebody else really is like, and she pulled them out of the pots. Super grateful for it. Yeah, so she did the work of pulling them out of the pots. I didn't even have to do that. She just came and brought their truck and just went to each pot. It honestly, like, saves us time too, because it does. Neither one of us wanted to do it. Right. Pat said, what do you do with the soil you remove from the containers? Honestly, it gets spread on the new property. And I know that that's not the case. Like, not everybody can do that. If you can spread it in flower beds, it's great. If it has had a bug issue or a disease issue, we discard it. You don't want to perpetuate anything like that in your garden. But otherwise, we spread it around wherever we can. Marisol said, what? No 3 plants in the middle? What is going on? Has Aaron finally rubbed off on you? The only reason I didn't have 3 in the middle is because I didn't have enough. Because it's a new plant for 2020, I can only get my hands on so many, and I was pushing my luck getting my hands on that many. So I'm glad you only did 1 though. Well, I guess, I could have I only could have put 2, and that would have been an even number. I think I'm going to put some of those in another area I had planned. Yeah. In the garden. So, because I want to, when I get a new plant, I always try to plan to put it in a pot and in the ground so I can see the difference and report to you guys how they've done. Warner said, is it just me that has a oh no, not already moment every time after a video is done? You can have a cameraman running around you all day and stream it. Your videos feed my gardening soul. Can you imagine? You can't actually have somebody follow you around. You're too fast. Like when you're, I'm trying to get a shot of you like spreading fertilizer or some. Yeah. I'm like, Laura, you're going too fast. You gotta like let me set up the shot for a minute. It is painful for me to like slow it down. I'll tell you, like, okay, you need to do that, but do it like half speed for me just to get the shot. And then the rest of them you can do full speed, but. Yeah, you work way too fast for somebody to follow you around. Last question from that video, GS Gumby.
gosh, Speedway. I have such issues. Gloves while planting? Who is this Laura imposter? Yes, my hands were killing me. So when we went down there, I mean, my hands are they're pretty gross. I painted my nails finally last week because I had like perma-dirt that I just could not get out, and they're so chipped up already. But when we went down there, that first bed about did me in because there was so much gravel in it. First off, that soil was it was bone dry, it was hot, and then I was scooping gravel out with my bare hands, and I almost couldn't finish that first bed. And like, for me to say that with hands that are as like used to it as they are, I mean, it was bad. So I got gloves for the second part, and then my hands had to recuperate, so I was wearing gloves in these when I did the container videos, because we had done the college like the day before. And so yeah, my hands were just tore up from that. Feeling okay now. Okay, second planting video was planting the containers in front of our barn and trimming spiral topiaries. So we have the 4 black containers in front of our barn, and I boxed with spirals that I trimmed up first, sprayed them with wilt stop, and then planted Supertunia Priscilla Improved, which is a new one for 2022, and then a Cake Pops Purple Verbena, and then Scavola Whirlwind Pink. It's just a very like soft, beautiful combination, I think. Amy's Gardenstead said, I love that you showed the projects over the years. That was the other thing about breaking it up. I could spend a lot of time talking about, which I didn't do in the urns. I should have done that more for the urns. I kind of forgot. I was, toward the end of the day, I was just like, okay, there's a lot. We've done a lot today. But yeah, it gave me more time to talk about what we've done through the years. The barn one was hard though, because we've been doing that the longest. And we switched those out. Spring, summer, fall.
Sure, yeah.
Like,
so
and
you've
we've
done
not
a lot
done,
of plantings.
Yeah, this year's the first year we've ever done another season out with the pots along the fence line. That's the first time we've done bulbs.
Well, you did something for the winter time too, didn't you?
Well, I did winter, but that was the first time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So barn, it was hard. We spent like 30 minutes maybe sitting just like racking our brains trying to think.
Looking through photos.
Yeah.
Trying to remember.
Because we didn't film them all either. Yeah, so to finish that, what Amy said, she said, I love that you showed the projects over the years. It takes a lot more time in the editing for you to do this, so I appreciate the work that goes into it. Thank you, Ken, for hearkening back to all that footage. It does take a long time. Watching you transform the property is one of my favorite parts. Of course, just like the flowers, the one I'm looking at is my favorite. Rachel said, I noticed that at one point in the past you had a large hay rack beneath the barn window. Have you decided it was too much of a pain to do again? You know, it was a pain to plant. It was a pain to maintain. It dripped water. It didn't like run down the barn ever. It always just dripped right onto like the area right below it. And we left the bolts. They're still there. So we do have the opportunity if we wanted to hang it back up. I just feel like, now we can't. There's a light right underneath it. Yeah. And it would junk that light up so fast. And I kind of like the clean look. I think it would take away from it now. Jacob said, happy belated Mother's Day. Thank you. Quick question. The pink tree in the background at 9:30. Does it burn in the full sun now that the elm tree has been removed, or does it get some shade from the barn in the afternoon? P.S. I think I have the same tree, which is called a tricolor beech, and you are right. It is a tricolor beech, and they are gorgeous. I didn't notice any burn on mine last year. It does get a little bit of protection from the barn, not full protection. So we'll see what happens. I do think that water's a factor too. As long as it gets sufficient water, it's not as prone to burn. But in the full sun, like if I put it out in the new I would never plant one out in the new property, the way the new property is right now, because it's just too much. They do like a little protection. Heidi said, hope this gets seen. Just planted a baby weeping willow in my front yard, and ever since I've heard nothing but how terrible willows are for residential areas. I think from the townhouse tour you had one in the back corner. Did you plant it? If so, are there any concerns for distance from the house? General care tips. I have a love-hate with willows. I love our weeping willows so much. We also have a scarlet curls, and I wouldn't trade them for something else. I love the form. They grow so fast that we have to prune on them all the time. We also have to treat with a systemic insecticide once a year to keep borers out. You need to use that stuff responsibly. It goes into the inside of the tree. If you were to treat the tree right when it breaks dormancy before it blooms, it can hurt honeybees. So we wait until after the trees have bloomed, honeybees are done feeding, and then we can feed the tree and it doesn't hurt a dang thing. So you just have to know what your trees need. You may not have a problem in your area with boring insects that bore, but we do here. Birch trees, willow trees, sometimes locusts, lilacs get it really bad, and so you just have to know those things. And I usually try to plant light on those things so that I don't have to treat everything in my yard. They are kind of weaker wood. They have weaker wood. I think they are weakest if you don't treat them, because the borers just go through the branches and, they just make them hollowed out and make them a lot more weak. So a lot of people, like in our area, when they lose big chunks of willow tree, they're like, oh, this is a really weak tree. I'm like, well, you probably never treated it before, and that's why. But they do tend to lose little limbs all the time, even if you do treat them. So yeah, I do think that there is some concern about willows like close to septic systems. You don't want to do that. You don't want to put them close to the foundation of your house. The one in our townhouse was back in the far corner. And I wouldn't put it up right next to our house for sure, but yeah. I also love them. Like, I love the way they look and how they sway in the breeze. Benjamin loves to play underneath ours by the greenhouse. That's really special. Danielle said, I like the videos all separated. It will make it easier to sort the questions too, I would think. Also, can we talk about the barn being symmetrical? I'll never get tired of that. Like, feeds your soul, doesn't it? Like, just to see that, like, balanced and...
It makes me feel so much better having it balanced.
Yeah, and white to match the house.
Yeah, it bothered me so much for 5 years or something.
I actually never noticed that middle door was not centered. I
Really?
never noticed that.
Oh, messed with
never-
my OCD so bad.
I never noticed it. I mean, I just noticed the big expansive wall to the left. I think that just distracted me so much that I never noticed it was off. Because it was only off by like a foot or something, right?
Yeah, it wasn't off by much.
So Long Girl Garden said, why oh why did you not give a step-by-step of how to shape the topiaries? There's really no guide. I mean, those already had a shape to them, so I wasn't starting from a raw plant. In that case, I could do a tutorial on how to do. I've done that before. Like what to look for in branching and how to get your initial shape. But in this case, it's like just get yourself a pair of pruners and start pruning. Like stand back every once in a while, look at it, make sure you haven't clipped off too much, etc.
Kind of more just like trial by fire, isn't it? You just do it.
Yeah. You just have to go out and do
just
it.
don't cut out too much.
Yeah, I would say start slow.
Yeah.
Do a little bit at a time. Christine said, I love how you showed the pots from past years. I love the color combinations this year. What do you do with the pansies when you remove them?
Chuck them.
Chuck them. Yep. Pansies don't do well in our heat. And I think, I mean, I understand, like, sometimes things look so good, like, right at the very end, especially pansies, because it's still cool at night. So they still look good, but the second it gets hot, like today, they'll start declining so fast. And so sometimes, in order to get your plants in the right time and not wait forever until the pansies are actually done, you have to just pull them. And it's one of those things. I know it can be hard to watch, that's why I pulled all the plants in those before the video, because I just didn't want to deal with that.
We do see a lot of comments.
Yeah, but you
because
have
they
to
always look
understand
good.
that all of these things are grown as a crop. It's like growing beans and harvesting your beans and then pulling the plant at the end of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or whatever. That's probably a really bad example.
But you got what you wanted out of it.
Well, and they're annuals. They're not perennials here, so it's not like I could perpetuate their lives.
I think some people just have a hard time pulling a live plant. Like they can't stand to watch it be pulled while it's still seemingly in its prime, even though it's going to die in like 2 weeks, because it's going to, it's like today in the 90s.
Yeah.
It would just shrivel up.
Yeah, like they would look really bad if I had them out there today.
But, I mean, so it was like less than a week ago that you planted those. And, so like they only had a week left of life, but you pulled them when they looked good.
Right.
People
And
can't stand that.
we don't take perennials out of pots and chuck them. We usually either give them away or plant them in the landscape. And that's usually the plan if I'm putting a perennial in a container. But annuals, I don't really have a hard time pulling those at this point. I think the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah.
Probably. Chris said, so off topic, but does anyone else think that Monica will be Laura's regular gardening buddy / sidekick / helper / partner when she moves back to Oregon? I keep on telling her, like, I want to hire you. But I think, so she works part-time for my parents down at the garden center, and I think she's going to help them in their yard maybe a little bit, which they need. They need somebody more
She has too
consistently.
much loyalty to your parents.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
I tried to offer her, like, whatever she wanted. But yeah, I would like that because we can communicate really easily with each other without worrying about hurting feelings or anything like that. That's really a nice thing. Ashley N. Sharp said, where do you get your flannels? I like the colors. Well, if I could go back like 5 years and rebuy my shirts, I don't know.
Yeah, where do you get clothes? You never go shopping. Do you get stuff online?
Well, sometimes.
Where?
Well, I ordered some knockoff Birkenstock sandals.
Did you?
They're $24.99.
Amazon?
Yeah. They're pretty comfy too. $24.99. Cushionaire. They're pretty comfy. I can't justify buying nice things like to wear because I just wreck stuff so fast. I used to work, it's crazy. I used to work at a bank for like a year and a half and I had nice stuff. Like really nice clothes and heels every day and yeah.
I can't even.
I definitely didn't have this tan line. You see that? My hair.
You can pull your hair back more. Wear a ponytail.
Oh, maybe.
How
yeah.
come you don't wear a ponytail?
Well, just because. Last video from this week, planting some new Superbells for 2022. So I planted the Esplanade urns on the west side. I left the boxwoods in there. I thought initially I was going to take those out because they're next to the arborvitae hedge, so there was a lot of green, but I've really enjoyed them this spring. I think my mind kind of changed about that. So I left them there, planted a new Superbells called Double Twilight that's coming out next year, and that's it. That's all I planted below it because I just want them to cascade softly out to the urn and not be too distracting with too many things going on. I just wanted one color, I should say. And then we went to Aaron's parents' house and I planted 2 Superbells, Lemon Slice and Over Easy, in their pots as a Mother's Day gift to his mom. For the Love of Pate said, it doesn't matter if it's one long video or 3+ short videos, we'll watch them all. That makes me very happy to hear. HJ Carpentier, is it possible for you to put links to drip tube adapters? I've tried to find them online but not found them. We did. We do. They're in the description of the video. Bethany said, will you continue to plant in the Esplanade urns once the arbs cast a lot of shade on them? Not sure if they will still get sun or not. They eventually will be in the shade in the afternoon, which means then the Red Point maples will shade them from the morning sun. So eventually I could have like ferns. Oh, wouldn't that be pretty? Ferns or hostas or like just some really fun shade stuff. I mean, gardens evolve, especially baby gardens. They always start off full sun, whether or not you're planting big shade trees or whatever, they're always full sun. And then they kind of slowly evolve into shadier spots, which is what we want. We want this garden in the end to be quite a bit of shade because now that we have a cut flower garden that will always be full sun, we want to create more shade. It just gets so darn hot in here, all over here, that we need shade. Nicole said, love the Mother's Day gift. Did Aaron's mom end up getting her tree for the backyard this spring? Yes, she ended up planting a Red Point maple. It's like our old standby tree.
It's just such a good tree. It's just a solid tree here.
Yeah. Samira said, what is the difference between Superbells and Supertunias? They look pretty much the same. So if you were to put them side by side, Supertunias have a lot more vigor. Usually they get a lot bigger, beastier. They have bigger blooms. They like a little bit more consistency of water. Superbells, on the other hand, have smaller blooms. They're a little bit more dainty. Some of them, though, are pretty darn vigorous and they'll fill in really beautifully. They like to dry out a little bit between waterings. So I've always had a little bit of an issue getting them to cohabitate peacefully in containers because I have to, in order to keep the Supertunias happy, I have to give them too much water, or I have to give them more water than the Superbells want. And so the Superbells end up being unhappy in the arrangement. So anyway, there are some differences there. Superbells are really great typically for containers and hanging baskets that drain really quickly. And I know a lot of people have success. I always say that. Like I see a lot of people grow Supertunias and Superbells together.
I want to say that Superbells Supertunias is one of Proven Winners' like top selling annuals.
I would say so.
And
yeah.
I would guess that Superbells is number 2.
Yeah.
So in terms of success, they've been selling these for years and years and years. So it's not as if it's like a brand new crop or anything.
Right.
Or variety. So that tells you there's a lot of people that have success if it's that popular.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And that is it for this week's recap video.
That seemed like the recap went really quick. I wonder how long this is going to be. I thought with 8 videos it was going to be crazy.
Let me tell you. I can tell you how long my mic's been going. My mic's been going for 1 hour and 10 minutes, and I know it was going for at least 11 minutes before we started.
Huh? So it'll be less
it's
than
under an hour.
Interesting.
Wow. Well, that's it for today. I'm going to be planting dahlias this week. I meant to do it today, but then we had the hard night last night, and so I made a quiche instead this morning with Benjamin and no dahlia planting. So we'll be doing that. I've got other things to plant, like direct seed out there. Our raspberry beds are done, so we'll be doing that just as a kind of a little preview or a little hint as to what you'll be seeing next. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you have a great week, and we will see you in the next one.